We're back with Formula One again, and we're going to be discussing the transformative impact that Rob Marshall made at McLaren after a stellar career at Red Bull. And with me to discuss that is Mustafa Jinoda. I'm still Afalabi.
Okay, I don't know if a lot of people know who Rob Marshall is. I guess diehard F1 fans know, but fans of McLaren, who are mostly blonde white girls and metrosexual white boys, I don't think they know who Rob Marshall is. They know who Stella is. Stella's got cute curly hair. They know who Norris is too. They know who Piastri. They know Zach Brown. They know all the guys. But I bet you they don't know who Rob Marshall is. And I bet you a lot of Red Bull people don't know who Rob Marshall is. They know Adrian Newey. Let me
Yes.
fucking tell you this shit, man. Rob Marshall is the best designer in F1 right now, and I would even dare say he's the best engineer. And as soon as he came to McLaren, that's when McLaren became unbeatable. We're not just going to say it's that simple because they were working in together, but he is just that good. He's a designer like Newey, but unlike Newey, who works only with the concept, Rob Rob Marshall can also dabble in performance engineering and in converting what comes from the concept and the design and making sure that it's facilitated with the car. And usually by the time you facilitate it with the realities of aero and sim testing, it's never going to be exactly what the design is. So he's good at translating designs and making them practical and coming up with things. And what he brought to McLaren was the brake drum, and the geometry, which both of those together gave McLaren unbelievable ability to heat up quickly and hit high speed corners, but then at the same time to reverse the process and cool down and avoid tire drag. A lot of people don't know how he did it. They're saying he might have used phase changing materials, which might be illegal or whatever. I don't know how he did it, but from what I'm hearing from my PhD research, okay, yeah, PhD and bullshit. What I'm learning from my PhD research is that when he came to McLaren, he had his own. It wasn't the stuff that he had didn't belong to Red Bull. It belonged to him. He had some sort of idea for cooling and things with Red Bull, which makes sense because a couple of years ago Red Bull was banned for cooling when he was there, saying that they were using something that was illegal, like injecting water. I think he brought it to McLaren and said, "Let's try it again." I'm serious because Red Bull was using it before. He said, "Let's try it again," and he made it more sophisticated. And to this day, we don't know why they are able to enter that temperature immediately and then like a thermostat cool down. Nobody knows how they do it, but the guy is a genius, absolute genius. So when I say suspension geometry, I'm not talking about what Norris had for feeling of the car, even though he created that too. He also has suspension geometry, which works there with the way it interacts with the brake drums and everything in the tires to regulate cooling. So this guy is a genius, and he also modified that to give Norris feedback on the car, without which Norris would have lost. Because we know that Norris feels grip through the steering wheel. Verstappen throws it through the body and somatically. And as far as I'm concerned, even though people say there ain't such a thing, Verstappen has a spiritual connection to grip like Senna. So what we're looking at Rob Marshall is the alpha and the omega of McLaren. You better learn his name. Also, buy him ice cream. Looking at his stomach, I can tell he likes ice cream. What are your thoughts on Falapi? That was a nice
Yeah,
intro, right? Nice intro. Go
yeah,
ahead.
you've said it all. The guy made a lot of brilliant, innovative changes at McLaren. The first one you mentioned, he was able to adjust the ducts. The ducts are just like pipes. He
Yeah,
adjusts the shape of the ducts and the brake drums. And what this instantly did for them was it stabilized the tire temperature and reduced degradation. Also, like you rightly mentioned, he brought a very unconventional suspension geometry, very different from a very bold design concept, different from what they were using before. The whole idea was that the grip will be improved, better downforce without necessarily sacrificing tire life. And this was
yeah,
brilliant
yeah,
because in F1, they call this the holy grail, mechanical grip plus downforce plus tire life. It's
yeah,
very
yeah.
difficult to
And
achieve.
also, sorry to jump in quickly. So the mechanical grip, which is with the tires, then downforce using the flexi wings so that the flex because he's behind that flexi wing. The flexi wing lets you have downforce on the corners, but then it comes back to normal so that you don't have drag. So he also did that, and he also figured out a way to connect all of that to the suspension and everything, and also the anti dive, so that the car also doesn't struggle with suspension that's too stiff and things like that. It's a lot of shit that guy brought, man. A lot. Go ahead, Afolabi. Sorry.
Yeah, and most important thing for me was synergy. You know, in McLaren before they were working like silos. He was able to merge the aerodynamic department with the vehicle dynamics so that what the aerodynamic guys were doing on the wind tunnel and with some computational fluid dynamics, they were able to, harness their experiments with the results of what was happening at the suspension mechanical side. So there was synergy. So the testing and the simulation was bringing out feedback for the mechanical side that brought results that was in harmony.
Yeah.
So he was able to
And
synergize the both
everything, yeah.
departments.
And
Yeah.
and see, this is the difference between how Red Bull does it with the Nui concept and the Rob Marshall. Rob Marshall looks at synergy and holisticness, whereas the Red Bull whole thing is based purely on peak performance with a floor that's low and I won't call it rigid, but it doesn't break. And then finally, when Red Bull added the vortex, that's how they dealt with the porpoising. So, but what he has is more of a synergistic effect, which may not have much peak speed as Red Bull, but it's more stable over a variety of tracks. Sorry, continue. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically this improved their race pace, and the rivals too acknowledged the fact that this was a game changer for them. Remember, when he left Red Bull, they just won the constructors. So coming to McLaren now, they've won the constructors now back to back. So I mean,
And the drivers finally. Yeah.
and the drivers finally. So his impact has been, very profound. And
Yeah.
like you said, he's a quiet guy. He's never in the spotlight. Guys
Well,
like
he's always eating donuts and hamburgers. Can't you
yeah,
tell? Come on.
very quiet.
I'm just kidding.
Just goes about his job, but really he's the brain behind McLaren's reemergence
And he
after
doesn't look like an
years
engineer
of
because he's a fat
improvement.
guy, bald headed. Engineers wear glasses. They wear glasses like me,
Yeah,
and they have
like
notebooks.
they
He
look
looks
like
like a
nerds.
grandpa. He looks like
Yeah,
Father Christmas.
yeah,
What do
sure.
you, Father Christmas? No, Darius, what would you like for Christmas? I would like more feedback. Ho ho ho! Let's just hit the drum. That was a good one. Good one. All right, so let's switch over. So let's go quickly. So I'm going to argue that